Hello, everybody. This is Artie, and just want to give you a quick tour of my base with the Astronomica crew. This is Barn Owl Station. I'm doing this as well as taking some photos, just so I can give you guys a kind of in-depth tour, walking you through everything. Currently, I think we're on year 3. We've been here for 172 days in game, about 15 days each. So do the math, somewhere around 15, 60, yeah, 60 days. So we're a little over 3 years, a little over 3 years since we got here. So basically, the colony is doing pretty well. We've had a couple of incidents. Things have been kind of going crazy, and we've been doing a lot of research in the time being. But we're going to start where it all started, in the kitchen, which used to be our basic home base. So we've expanded out quite a bit. We now have a meat grinder, which helps with working on butchering, as well as the corpse butcher, which also helps with cooking. We have a writing table where people have been writing up some books. I have one set to be built for each of the skills that allows people to actually read them and study them for both a joy boost and to study. We've got this. It's our mutagen lab. We're actually going to be moving that here soon. I've been trying to see about reverting some of the colonists back to a more humanoid state, but it's proving more difficult than before just because we don't have any mutanite, which is the ore that's needed. In the meantime, though, everyone can enjoy the tube television, which will hopefully soon be replaced with a bigger television on our plain leather couch that we have built here, so everyone can sit and enjoy. We have Anton, who's been doing up all of his cooking here, and we've got it set up nicely where meat gets stored in a small refrigerator here, so potatoes or vegetables get stored here, and then simple meals get pulled from the wall here. So people have been, he cooks it up very quickly, puts it in there, stops at about 45, and resumes it at about 15. We also have some packaged survival meals we've created since we're trying to do some more exploring, but those are currently not allowed to be picked up by colonists until we're ready to be finished. Where we're looking to expand a little bit with this and change it from a cooking area specifically into sort of a rec room dining area. So I worked on mining out some of this section, and we're going to break down this wall and kind of expand it out a little bit, maybe make the floor a new design or something like that. To go out, we have our battery power room here. We've got our wood fire generators, and this is where all of our animals are sleeping. Right now, we've got quite a few. We've got, starting off from the top, we've got these chemical processing units, which I made. These are android chickens, and they actually lay chem fuel eggs. There should be some, here they are, chem fuel capsules. And these are nice because you can actually break these down either into Nutramine, which are a starter for drugs, or you can turn it into chem fuel. So we've been kind of doing half and half. We've got a lot of Nutramine and a ton of chem fuel now, which we're looking to turn into incendiary shells or um, just use it as passive power production, things like that. In terms of our other animals, we have a lot of cows. We bought a couple of these from a passing trader spaceship, and they've been breeding like crazy. We've actually had to cut down a couple of them, and they are probably, nope, looks like they're not in the fridge anymore. We had a raccoon that self-tamed, and we had what else do we have in here? Let's see. Oh, we got the muffalos. That's right. We just tamed these two muffalos, specifically because we need pack animals. We're looking to do a little bit of expansion or moving out into other areas, and it'd be really nice if we had something to help us carry loads. We had to actually travel to another area and destroy a psychic machine that was affecting all the females in our colony and causing them a lot of pain, and so we had to take care of that. We traveled without muffalos, and it really you could feel the difference because we weren't able to carry a whole lot back. Once we have the ability to genetically modify these guys, which is something we're working on to make it so the muffalos also produce milk, we'll probably get rid of the bulls and the cows, but we're currently keeping them around just for a little while. And the raccoon is the only animal that we can actually train to like attack. So we're working on getting him into sort of an attack animal and seeing if we can't do something with him as well. Aside from that, we also have a trash can cleans up everything in that area. Kind of nice. We've got a soda fountain, which currently does not have anything in it. We're actually able to insert soda syrup, which is something we're going to be working on. And we also have an espresso machine. Again, doesn't have anything in it yet, but we have a lot of bills for tea and coffee and things like that that I'm excited to get into at some point. Onto the freezer. As you can see, we have a lot of corpses. These are actually a nice little item. These are deep storage crates from LMV Deep Storage, and they allow you to store a lot of items in a small area. So right now I have all of this meat, potatoes and corn and things like that. They're being stored in here. And we've got it set up so that all of our extra food and things like that get stored in here as well. There are two of these metal meat hooks, which are used to store corpses, and they're currently just set to store humanoid corpses. So they are currently stored on here. Aside from that, all the rest of these corpses are scattered around. We have a couple of these. These are Forerunner corpses. They're actually from a Forerunner constructor that is, or was, somewhere around here. Ooh, their bodies. Shoot, I missed them. We're going to quickly grab those just because I would really like that. We're going to strip them as well when they come in. There was a Forerunner constructor. Oh, and there's some other animals down here too. Lots of animals I can haul in. It was down over here. I'm not sure if it's been destroyed. It must have been. Anyway, the Forerunner constructors will actually construct these Forerunner Sentinels. I know there were also some smaller little guys somewhere around here too. He's hauling those in. Okay. There were also some of these like smaller constructors as well, but you can actually break these guys down into Forerunner metal. They're from Halo, from another mod pack. Aside from that, we have had quite a few raids, some of them from the Bloodeds. These guys are the Yauta, or the Predators, however you want to call them. We've also had some raids from a couple of other factions, including this one, Green Mouse Kamba, who are a bunch of Foxmen, and the Union of Sao, who are a bunch of Camel dudes. But we've just kind of kept their corpses for the time being. I'm hoping to find a better use for them, but as of right now, it looks like mostly they'll just be used for turning into fertilizer here soon, as soon as I can get these finished up. Speaking of fertilizer, we have a farm going on. The farm is actually fully enclosed. It took a long time for us to get to this point. For the past few years, we've just been farming whenever it's warm enough. But now that we've got enough power production on, we're actually growing some plants. We've got corn, we've got potatoes, we've got hops, so we can start growing beer. We have some coffee plants, we have some cotton, and then we have our resource plants of silver, plasteel, and steel. And these are from, I think, VGP, but Garden Resources. Really great little mod. It takes a long time for these guys to grow, and you don't get a whole lot out of them, but it is helpful to help kind of boost your spot. And one of our little auto miners that I'll show you in a minute is actually working on deep drilling a set of steel that is under here. So there is a section of steel that's under there. There's also some that are somewhere around here, although it's not showing up on the map for some reason. Anyway, yeah, so this is our farm. We have these columns. These are actually heated sun lamp columns, so these help keep the temperature warm enough, since outside it's about 20 degrees, and this is actually coming up into spring, so it's getting warmer. Indoors, we want to keep it at a nice 70 so that these guys during the daytime will actually be able to grow. Right now they're in their resting state. And these sun lamps help provide extra light as well. And also these wall sunlights also provide extra light. Because some of the corners aren't caught by this. So this wall light helps make sure that they at least get some sunlight to them and start growing. Aside from that, let's move on. One thing I didn't mention is that this area is going to get expanded. I'm hoping to move out some of these batteries or expand the battery area. I'm not sure which, but this area is probably going to be for the animals specifically. I want them to be able to have a large space to sleep in and work on keeping warm, just because it is so cold outside all the time. It gets, to below negative in Fahrenheit, and it just gets so cold so quickly. So it's really important that they have a space to keep warm. And using this wall vent, I'm able to move the hot air from this area over into there, or vent it out into the cold if I need to cool down the room during the summer in case it gets too hot. But that hardly ever happens here because we're in a boreal forest. This area up here is actually going to be turned into a kitchenette. It's going to be Anton's new kitchen room. We're going to have a wall or a door here that goes into the freezer just so we can continue going back and forth. We're going to remove these wall refrigerators, and we're actually going to put them in the walls up here so he has basically an entire space to work around. And there's going to be a bar set up, soda fountains, things like that. I just finished studying, what was it? I think it was aquaponics. Here it is, aquaponics basin. So this thing, oh god, that's going to be huge, is actually a automatic fisher. So we can actually start getting fish just because we don't really have any fish in the area, but I want Anton to have that ability to make sushi and really feel like he's coming from his home. So it's important to me that we have something like that, which we'll probably build out either in there or in another section of the base. We all are also working on expanding out this into more growing area, and we'll be doing that slowly, kind of doing that in sections, waiting for the spring to come around until it's warm enough that they're able to grow on their own. Then I can open up this wall and focus on making these a little bit larger so I can start growing more plants and things during the summer. Aside from that, our houses haven't changed that much. We had a couple of break-ins, a couple of broken areas from Angela. She went on a bit of a tantrum and broke some stuff, but we were able to fix it all. Aside from that, most of our colonists are very similar to how they were last time I posted an update. Mackey's doing okay. He is currently still the leader. He's actually co-leading with Hopper at the moment, and is a carpenter while Hopper is a scientist. We've got Anton and Hildy still married. Hildy, I think, is also pregnant again with her third child. Yeah. Anyway, Hildy has basically fully formed now into a part boomalope, part fox. Yeah, so 44% fox morph, 5.6% boomalope. The mutagen is neutralized, and she is actually a paragon, so she's able to adapt to new mutations very quickly, which is nice. So that's good for her. We've also been able to heal some of her damage, and we've got this little guy. If you can see that here, this is actually her magic. She's a technomancer. So what it is it's a little thing called a technobit. When she was transforming, she became non-human for a little while, and then came back to being mostly human. So she regained her ability to use magic, and we actually spec'd her into a different skill ascended from her turret that she had because it never worked. This guy is really nice. He can help shoot enemies in case they get close. They can repair stuff if they see it nearby, and they can also use it to support during construction, crafting, mining, things like that. And it will spontaneously use up part of her magic to do that, which is really nice. She also has the ability to overload some enemies, including androids and things like that, which is really nice. KG is Anton and Hildy's first child. He is one of our fantastic hunters. He has basically spent his whole life being a hunter and is shooting all around. He is working on getting some artistics, and he is still an ocean lover. But other than that, he's doing okay. We've got Bardaris. He is our Kiloran, which, if I remember correctly, is like a fey fox creature. Yeah, some sort of race of Fae. They're from the expansion that includes a lot of Dungeons and Dragons races, which is kind of cool. They've been helping out mostly with mining and things like that. We've got our Predator. He is doing well. We actually went and did some specific. We had a glitch, or what I thought was a glitch, where we couldn't do any research on anything for the predators, but I found out it's specifically because the predator has to be the one to do the research, and he was not set up for research at the time. So we did some basic research to be able to get him this machining table, which is nice, and we were able to get him a couple of items, including this Yauta vest, which helped keep him from being cold, because the Yauta, they live mostly in warm environments, so they're cold temperature that they're happy at. Otherwise they'll become hypothermic, is really like high. So they can really only survive in really like warm temperatures. So we had to build him a vest, a cloak, a chest plate, and some greaves to help him deal with the cold and deal with any sort of pain or damage that was coming his way. That's what this little uh, machining table is for. So we had to have him do some specific researching. Aside from that, he has mostly been a hunter. He's been helping out folks around the colony. He's been taming all of our animals, which is really nice, and things are going good. Angelus, unfortunately, also got mutated. She is mostly a different morph non-human now. She's apparently ether bonded. I don't know what that means. Okay. She is producing chemical cysts she has, which is disgusting. And apparently she's okay with producing. Um, she is a cobra morph, a booma morph, and a monkey morph. So at one point she actually had legs of a cobra. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but she's all sorts of messed up. Our jail right now is empty. However, that was not the case just a little while ago. We actually had some prisoners that we were keeping held in there that you'll see their fates here shortly. We also still, of course, have our corpse farm, which is producing maggots. That's disgusting, but at least it's somewhat useful. The maggots basically we just feed to our animals. They have no problem eating it. The chickens seem to love them. We have all of our batteries and stuff here. So each of these are an advanced battery. They store up to 800 watts. The large batteries store 200 watts. And each of these are a circuit breaker. This is from the fuses mod. So if something happens where these are discharged, the fuses will actually pop, and you just have to come by and flick them. If you need the makeshift fuse, which is what these little guys are for, you actually have to replace it with a component. So I've been building as many of these as possible, so that way I can work on getting all of our power saved so that if something happens, we don't break something. It just you have to flip the switches. We've also got our industrial wood fire generator, which is doing well. We're possibly going to consider turning that into chem fuel just because of the amount of chem fuel that we have at the moment. These guys are our animal colonists. These are ones that we recruited as animals, but were actually sapient. They're currently stored in these bioreactors. I'm probably going to pull them out and either revert them, or if I have the ability to, or just slay them outright, because they're really only providing, like, the most we're providing right now is 1260, which is almost nothing in our colony now. 150 from here and 510 from here. It's just almost nothing. Aside from that, we also have from our Star Trek mod the dilithium power generator. We've been mining up dilithium from a couple of mining stations, and we're using them to power our station now with 400 watts, 4,000 watts from this small one. And this one is the large dilithium power generator, which looks very much like the dilithium power generator on the Enterprise, specifically Next Generation. And this one is at 16,000 watts. So this one is a really large one. It stores a lot of dilithium, but it can take a long time to burn out. So we're good there. Let's move on next to our fields here. We've got some hay grass growing. These are basically just for our animals to munch on. We also have our trees being grown. This is so we have some reliable source of wood, although it does take forever for these guys to grow. We also have our scanner here. It's a ground penetrating scanner. This is used to scan for nearby nodes for us to mine using our deep ore miner. We've been doing that specifically because we were running out of materials on the map to actually mine, unless we decide to go just digging straight into the mountain, which I'd rather not do. This is actually a cool thing. It's called our Sky Mind antenna. This is for a project I'll show you here in a minute. But this basically is part of how we will allow some of our Android colonists and our non-Android colonists to connect to Android or biological surrogate host bodies. It's crazy and kind of cool. Moving on, we've got our artillery. This is for firing at areas on the map. We can only fire in a small radius to areas basically out front, but it should also allow us to target world tiles. I haven't been able to get it to work. I still have to do a little bit of research on how it works, but it's something. We've got our crematorium to cremate corpses and manufacture them into fertilizer mostly. Yeah, and then we can also make bone ash, which is something you can use to make bone china, which is nice for art, but we're kind of holding off on that for a little bit. We just have so many jobs around that this isn't really important. We've got each of these as our dilithium miners. They do mine up dilithium over time without needing a node underneath it. So these take around 1200 watts, and they are really good for creating more dilithium for our generators, which is really nice. We also have this transporter pad, which I've named home base. I have no idea how this works or if it even does work. With the mod just being as so insane and crazy as it is. But it should allow us, if we build a second one, to instantly teleport items and people across map. So we can actually build a second base and then have them transport back and forth between them without having to make any sort of journey. So that should be helpful. We've got, of course, here our advanced geothermal generator outputting around 5,200 watts. We've got multiple of these set up around the map. We've got another one here. We've got two more that are set to be built over here, and two more that have been built but not connected over here. So we've been building those to try and maximize use of the steam geysers that are around our map and use them to continually power our base. Moving on, we've got our research room. This used to be our manufacturing room, but it has since turned into a research room to try and help aid in some of our highest level research, which right now we're actually researching some neural chips for a project I'm very excited about. So each of these is pretty cool. We've got our comm station, so we can talk to people and trade from far away. These interact with our orbital trade beacons here in our workshop. And basically scan the area for items that are available for sale, and then we'll sell those items on the comms console. So anything that's of use, we actually store in here, and we can trade on the global market. We have a couple of heaters, another trash can to clean things up. We've got, of course, our machining table, just put in here because there wasn't enough room in our workshop. We have our inspiration bulb. This is actually a human corpse that has been transformed into a bonus to research. And they actually speed up research by around 12%. They only need a little bit of power, and they're really useful. Each of these is also a research counter, which also speeds up research, as well as a wooden file cabinet, which also speeds up research. So these are really nice. We have here our Federation Science Station. This was an annoying thing. I thought that we'd broken the game by building this. Turns out we hadn't. It was just that we were doing the wrong kind of research that our Predator needed to do, so our research was stalled for a little while. But this allows us to build all of the Federation style gear, and I'm really excited about expanding out into that, building phasers and things like that. Since I've gotten the dilithium and the lithium power generators, I'm pretty much stopped that line of research for a little while to focus on other more practical matters. But it is important that I get back to that at some point. This also functions as a high-tech research bench and a multi-analyzer all in one, which are both of these. This is a high-tech research bench and a multi-analyzer. Both of these are used for like high-level research. So the fact that this does it all in one small block is really useful. The only reason I have these still is so that other people can research at the same time, so we can speed up research by having multiple people do it instead of just Hopper, who's been our main researcher. Up next, we'll move into our storage area and workshop. This is insane. So I've designed this around the deep storage mod. So each of these are, obviously the floor is a full storage area. So anything that can be stored here will be stored here on the floor, just as a drop-off area. We're actually going to be changing this here soon to another area of the base for storage and just have this be a workshop. But for the meantime, this serves as both. We have a bunch of these wooden clothing racks, one for specifically tainted apparel. This is from folks who we've killed in the past, like this one, I'm going to guess. Yeah, tainted apparel. We also have one here that is for clothing that is specifically for the colonists that we don't want to delete or remove. And these are cloth parkas, hazmat suits, armor, things like that. We also have a bunch of these. These are double high shelves. Basically, these allow us to store a bunch of different items. I've set it to basically store anything that the rest of the storage containers don't store. And we have like 6 of these, I think. 6 or 7 of these scattered around the place. We've got a couple of these that are specifically for leather because we kill so many animals that it is important for us to at least have some form of leather storage. We're probably actually going to start selling this leather at some point. Same with cloth. We have cloth here and cloth here. and as you can see, we are getting a lot of it from our farms. Aside from that, things of note, we've got a drug lab, we've got a smithy, a machining table, a stone cutter's table. This is our fabrication bench, which we use to fabricate components and advanced components, as well as mechanoid, all sorts of crazy stuff. Replicate memories, scan corpse's brain, insanity lances. Um, we can make resurrector serums if we have enough trained mechanites, which we need luciferium for. Um, just all sorts of craziness stuff. So each of these has a bunch of bills we can make and things to install. Um, so we can make like birth control, pregnancy tests, ibuprofen, mechanite slurry, mutapil stabilizer, that kind of stuff. Um, Down here is more of our stuff for our androids. I think one of these is a prosthetic. There's a prosthetics table there for regular colonists. Down here is our android workstation. So we have the android robotics production casket, which we can actually use to create animals and new android colonists. So right now we can create a surrogate android, which is something we're going to have to talk about and do here soon. It's kind of cool. Um, and then we can do create these chemical processing units, which are the little chickens that run around. We also have the muff units, which are muffalo that are made of metal. We can also have a phytomining unit, which creates, I think, it's a boomalope. N solution, which is nutrient solution, which is a cow version of a android, the canine cybernetic unit, which is obviously a dog, and the chemical processing unit, which are the chickens. We can also make extra swarm shells, which are filled with little micro scythers that will attack nearby targets and kill them as drones. It's kind of neat. We have our electric smelter, which we've been using to smelt up steel shrooms, plasteel bulb chunks, and metal from any slag from any enemies that attack us that come in transport pods or anything like that. We've got T-Rex head from a T-Rex we killed. I don't know why that was the only piece that survived of him after getting chopped up and turned into flesh and skin, but it's kind of cool. We've got our electric tailor bench. Looks like they were working on a blue fur pelt coat. I have it set up to make quite a few of them because I want to make sure that we have extras for people who may not have them and be getting cold. And we also have the art bench, which we haven't really been using to make any sort of art, but we're planning on doing that once we have the colony in a little bit of a safer state. Moving on to our factory. Our factory is doing really well. Here's an automatic drill. This will automatically mine up chunks, which we also have a ton of over here. And those chunks get put onto this conveyor, which then go into our steel extractor, which then creates steel. So it helps boost our steel production, which is something that we really need because we do build a lot of things out of steel here. Most of our walls are made out of bonecrete, which is bone that has been refined down into a concrete-like substance, considering we have like 11,000 bone or something like that. Yeah, 11,000. It's really useful to build everything out of bonecrete. So anything that we can't build out of bonecrete, we build out of steel or plasteel, because we're now making plasteel from those bulbs as well. And so this helps boost that. This does take a while for each chunk, but it is useful. These guys are our charging stations. We've got 2 auto miners, 2 auto haulers, and 2 auto cleaners, which kind of do as it says on the tin. These guys take a long time to charge up, but once they do, they're able to head out onto the map and do things like we saw this guy. He is currently hauling one of the corpses from our last raid. We've got another one that's heading out to do the same thing. Anything that I toggle as needing to be hauled, they will actually come out and haul. Let's see, what next? All right, I guess we'll go on and talk about our little project down here that we've been doing. So first off, we have the God, what's it called? My brain is dying now. I can't remember what the name of it is. Hospital. Thank you. So we have our hospital here. We've got a couple of these trash cans in here to help keep things clean. Each of these are hospital beds. They are either good or better. They all have a walled vitals monitor, which increases their 10 quality, immunity gain speed, and surgery success chance, because we don't want anybody dying on our watch. We also have a vital center, which also adds extra 10 quality, immunity gain, and surgery success chance. That combined with Hopper being, I think he's a 20. Oh, he's a 17, but he's almost a 20. He's a 20 in intellectual, but he's a 17 in medical. Means that he has a high chance for success on anything he does. I'm going to get to what these guys are here in a second. But back here is what was originally supposed to be our sadness room, but it has basically just become a storage center, and now this has become our quote-unquote sadness room. Here we have our storage center. These are our cold storage. We have some humanoid brains. Don't remember how those came about. Probably from butchering someone. I think it may have actually come from our project up here. We've got some Necronite slurry that we got somewhere. We have a genome sequence from a Yauta, and we were just trying to learn how to scan for genomes. So we've got a sequencer from her. This we can use to actually combine with, I believe, others to grow a colonist in a cloning vat, which is kind of neat. We have some organic pulp, which we can use as a compound to accelerate genetic processes, basically allowing us to do some more genetic testing. We've got some protein mash, which is mashed together from a bunch of different meat. It's perfect for growing organs and living beings. Speaking of which, we actually are growing stuff. We have an arm that we grew in this organ vat. We originally were planning on giving it to a colonist. However, we found out he's a transhumanist, so he appreciates having some metal pieces. So we just went ahead and kept that on there, and we built him a metal arm instead. Over here, we've got our medicine cabinets. We've got a bunch of herbal medicine. We actually have a lot less than we used to because we've converted all of it into medicine. But as you can see, nutriamine from our chickens is really high. So that combined with the herbal medicine and some cloth makes regular medicine, which we should work on getting some more of to finish up some of our operations that we're looking at. We also got some ambrosia from around the map. A group of it grew. It actually increases mood, so we're considering doing some more research into that. Some extra beer stored in here to keep away from everyone, and some chem shine, which is another alcohol, just to kind of keep away from everyone at the time being. We've got this, which is a gene pod. We can actually combine different, basically, genes as long as we have genetic material from each, and it will actually create a incubator that we can use to hatch different creatures, basically. It's very neat. Very excited about that. And this is this is where we are doing some terrible, terrible things. It is very hard to see, but there is a person in here. This is our cloning vat. We are cloning a human. Specifically, we're cloning Mackie. The reason we're cloning Mackie is both because A, it's Hopper's dream to have multiple of Mackie, and Grace's dream to have multiple Mackie, but also Mackie is our best builder. His construction and his crafting is so high, and he's got so much work to do building stuff around the colony that we need a second Mackie to be able to keep up with everything. So we're working on cloning a second version of Mackie. Now clones, when they come out, don't have any memories. However, we also have this, which is our brain scan for Mackie, which gives him the abilities and the race and the backstory and everything like that of the new clone. So we're going to be using that to clone him into that body. We may also try it with a different one to use this other genome sequence that we had, and we might overwrite it onto here. Anyways, the other thing in this room is we have these two android pods, including this one, which has T3, who is, at the moment, a blank neural network android. This is I'm really excited about this because I've been wanting to get into this the whole time. That's one of the reasons why I started this. So this SkyMine network antenna that we talked about earlier has a cool feature. If your androids are upgraded with a specific chip, which specifically is these VX1 neural chips, all the way up to VX3, what it does is it allows you to remotely control any biological surrogate or SX series android. So we can actually turn these androids into surrogate androids. What that allows is basically you can have a colonist that will come down, lay in bed, connect to the SkyMind, and then allow them to remotely control another colonist. So if Mackie were installed with one of these, he could remotely control another android colonist, which would have all of his skills and would have the physical attributes of that android, meaning we could outfit it as a huge beast of a behemoth and allow it to go into battle instead of Mackie, meaning that any damage that comes to the android would not come back to Mackie. And he would be able to disconnect in the case of the android's death and be back as his normal self. What this also allows you to do when you get up to the VX2 level of it is allows you to duplicate or permute their mind. So what that means is if we actually capture any android prisoners, we can either overwrite their mental state, or we can duplicate it onto a blank surrogate. So if Hopper wanted to, wherever he is, somewhere around here on the map, there he is, we can actually have him transfer his mind over into this tier 3 android, or duplicate his mind onto this tier 3 android, meaning we would then have 2 Hoppers instead. And we could do this with any of our colonists. That is why these 2, who were formerly prisoners, have been implanted and had their brains removed and implanted with the VXO neural chip. So this allows them to basically be blank slates for us to implant our minds onto. So that way we can throw them out into the fray and they won't die. And if they die, it's fine. They do still need to be fed. They do still have needs, physical needs. But as of right now, they are basically comatose, lying in bed, waiting for us to finish our research so we can implant at least the VX2 or VX3 chips into people like Mackie, KG, our Predator, people who have high skills in certain areas, and outfit them so that they can be useful in more ways than just their limited flesh bodies. Again, super exciting, super crazy, questionable ethics going on here at the colony. We're finally at the point where the sadness room is a real thing, and we're going to be basically doing all sorts of terrible experiments. I was hoping to find a way to turn dead colonists into full colonists, but I think that this is probably going to be the best way for us to do that, is just to fertilize them up to make food for our biological surrogates that we capture. I'm also looking into non-lethal ways of capturing more colonists. Aside from that, this area, just as the last little bit, is going to be our new storage area. Since this one is getting so full, we're going to move all of our storage down in here and have this just be focused on our workshop. So that way we can continue to do workshop stuff and have our orbital beacons pull from this area here. Aside from that, defense has been the name of the game. We've built a couple of these android colonists. These guys are scrap bots. They are from the Fallout Race Pack, and basically all they are, this one actually lost an eye, sadly, which I can't replace, but this one's a good example. It's basically a Mr. Handy that only has one eye and doesn't have any of his usual parts. We actually did have a Mr. Handy at one point. Unfortunately, he was killed in the line of battle. But I have 3 of these guys. They're always full happiness. They don't require food, but all they can really do is haul stuff. And they were what I built before I had our little robot haulers, and they've been really useful around the colony for helping out with that kind of stuff. We've also got Cameron. He is our Protectron. Let's see, what else does he have? Apparently he's got an elephant tusks. Not sure why he has that. Must have equipped that as some sort of melee weapon at some point. Anyway, he has the ability to do some basic manual labor. I don't think he has the ability to clean, but he does basic manual labor, and he has some mounted lasers that are fairly useful. He was basically built as a intermediary attack droid, so that we could throw something at it that if it died, like, yeah, it'd be sad, but we could just build another one. And we have a couple of builds set up to actually build some Securitrons once we have enough. We've got 2 Securitrons that we can build that we've suspended at the moment because they do take quite a bit of advanced components, which need a lot of steel and gold, which we're running a little low on at the moment. So we've been conserving our resources to try and build towards some other defenses. We've got our power generation over here, which is tied into our defenses directly. Each of these is an advanced solar generator. They output up around 2700 once the sunlight comes up. These are our lightning rods, so if there's ever any lightning, it deflects it onto these, and they actually store up and charge for a full day of like 200 watts of power over a course of 24 hours, which is nice. And then these are our advanced wind turbines. I think the most I've ever seen these get up to is like 7,200 at like full speed wind turbine. Um, these get blocked off by things that are in this area, so we've actually blocked it off with these advanced solar panels so that nothing can grow here, and we've also built concrete in this area so nothing can grow here as well. So these guys should be fine. In terms of defenses, this is our first line of defense. We built a couple of turrets around here, which have been really useful. We've got these guys, which are the UA571C automated sentry turrets. These are actually from the Alien vs. Predator mod. These are the ones that they had set up in the hallways to defend against the Predator. They run out of ammunition after a while, but you can refill them, I believe. These guys are really, really powerful. They each take an advanced component to create, so they are a little bit expensive, but they are very useful. We've got these two guys near our front gate. These are our shredder turrets. These basically act as fast-acting shotgun turrets. They're good at close range, obviously, and they shred through any non-armored uh, defenders. So whenever we have any sort of animal attack that's coming our way, we go ahead and bring them up. We also have a couple of oh, we apparently have some beer there, which I think we don't have set to haul urgently, but we should. We have some steel bear traps that are over here that we keep around, specifically because we want to make sure that they don't have a chance to hide around this corner. This is a chain link fence with a couple of entrances here. This allows us to shoot through, but for people not to come through to attack us. These are made out of calcium polymer, which is pretty readily available with all the bones that we have. We turn it into this calcium polymer. And it's better than using steel, even though it's a little weaker. All it's really doing is it's stopping them from moving forward, and if they do manage to break through, we have our colonists in here. Our plan is basically we have a colonist hide here. They're able to shoot through this, which is a bonecrete embrasure, so they're able to shoot over the wall. However, enemies are able to scale over it slowly, so in case they need to, they can head back through here and then hold them at this pass so that they have a single block to attack through, meaning that they can either have a melee fighter move in and block, or they can at least shoot through and wait for more reinforcements to arrive to kind of gang up on them and hold them at that point. Once enemies find a single way through, they tend to go that way. So depending on if that's like breaking something down or finding it or climbing over it, whatever. So this seems to be a pretty good way of keeping things safe. Most people, they tend to come straight for us and then attack through here. That being said, I'm currently working on extending some power down here so I can continue on with this level of defense. I wanted to expand into this main valley, but to do that, I had to make sure that we are completely safe because raids are our biggest enemy here. So I've got the same sort of, you can see how it's being built in the same sort of configuration. We had to do some work on the water here to make it so that I could actually build across this. This is deep water, so they can't actually cross this at all. But we've got, there won't be a gate in this one. This will just be completely blocked off. As you can see, there's no gate here like there is in this one that has this nice big steel gate for people to pass through. So this one will be completely blocked off, meaning if anyone wants to come in, they'll have to come in through this way for guests and things like that. This one will also have a series of the military turrets, although they're not going to be the same high-level ones that we have over here. This is going to be the military turrets, specifically because I didn't have enough advanced components, and I have a lot more of the regular components to pull from, so I have about 41. I had like 80 before I started this project. But once this gets completed, I'll be able to dirt over all of this and turn this into something and basically expand out into this valley and make things happen over there. Do sort of a similar construction over here. So we're pulling our power. These are all power conduits that we're building, so that way we can actually power these and keep ourselves safe from any enemies that might come in. We also have a couple of the turrets built in here, specifically because we don't want any raids to drop in on us and go attacking our defenseless power generation, because that could kill our crops, it could kill our just power overall. Even though we're pretty well safe with the power that we're building at the moment, we are still working technically in the negative. If we didn't have this dilithium power generator, which I just built, we would be working in the negative right now, so our power would be dropping. All of these are very power hungry machines, especially the farm, so it's very important that we keep an eye on that. Now, a couple of things that did happen that were kind of cool. This is the xenomorph nest. We have walled that fucker off. We're not dealing with that. That being said, there were some active xenomorphs that were in this area. Um, they actually happened to be killed by a bunch of insectoids that spawned in here, and they attacked each other and killed each other. I came in and undid all of my blocking that I had here, and basically killed off what little insectoids there were left, and then quickly walled this off and said, fuck that, I'm not dealing with this, because I tried and I had to reload a save, because the moment you throw anything in here to explode it, a xenomorph queen spawns from this xenomorph tunnel. And she is almost impossible to kill. She's incredibly difficult. So we've been mining out all of the materials. Like, this used to be full of steel, some components. We had some more steel up here, things like that. But as of right now, this is basically going to be left alone. We might consider walling that off one more time, just in case this decides to expand, or someone decides to dig into and release these xenomorphs or anything like that. Other than that, we did have another xenomorph issue. There is you can see it here, there's a sort of slight darkness to this area. That was because right here in this patch, there was actually a ship part that landed that was full of xenomorphs. And we damaged it, and the xenomorphs came rushing out, including a bunch of facehuggers, which latched onto the local wildlife. Thankfully, they were all killed before the facehuggers were able to impregnate them. But we basically lured them all back slowly to this area, and our Forerunner constructors that were actually helping us in that battle came up and were able to fire on them as well, so we were able to defeat these xenomorphs. They had a couple of crypto sleep caskets, which were full of more facehuggers, and a very angry humanoid that had been impregnated, so we killed all of them. Other than that, we had a raid that came through here, so we walled this section off. There was a gap here that they had dug through into. And we also have this area that was revealed that was right next to our farm, so we walled that off. Let's see, anything else of real importance? We've basically just been handling ourselves pretty well. We've been fighting off a raid after raid after raid. There's another constructor there we can haul. Our next plan right now, after taking care of all this, one of the reasons why I was trying to focus on building these guys on the power conduits, is that we have a quest here that I'd like to take called Androids of Fortune. It expires in about 19 hours. We've had like over a week to work on it. Basically, if we allow them to send us 10 raids of androids, we can 2 sets of 10 raids of android, actually, so it's about 20 androids. We can gain either some honor for one of our colonists, we can gain some goodwill with the Empire faction, who might be willing to take us off world, or we can get a bunch of these tech prints, which I already have, but the gold would also be nice, and selling these off wouldn't be bad either. However, oh, looks like there was a thing in there. However, with our defenses as they are right now, the last raid we had was able to push through and attack from this area. And because we don't have those automated turrets up, it limits us to just our human colonists, which, while they're not terrible, we don't really have any good method of like consistent firepower like we do up here. So I was hoping to get these at least finished with the turrets, so that if they decided to come and attack from this direction or avoid our turrets up here, we could defend ourselves a little bit better. Because while they can come from this section and try and dig through, which is something we really haven't done anything about yet or helped with, more likely than not, they're going to be attacking around this edge of the map, which means that they're probably going to attack here first or bypass this and come down here. So it's important that we have this as our weakest spot at the moment defended, so that way we can continue expanding and we can survive the raids. And the reason I'm even considering taking it is because android parts are really useful. Obviously, we can break them down into more steel, which is always nice. But in case we get any that are still alive, we can capture them, and we can actually turn them into. We can actually perform a procedure on them that turns them into one of our colonists automatically. It just makes it so that they have their brains fried, basically, which is fine because once we finish up this research, we'll be able to install new chips into their brains in place of their brains, basically, and allow us to duplicate them so we can duplicate some of our colonists onto them and have even better colonists because we've been training up our colonists, and it would be great if we had some cool stuff. Also, I never introduced the last few members here of our team. We have Stench, who is Hildy's second child, who is also a Boomamorph and Foxmorph. And we have McFly, who is a sheep morph um, and a human. He was actually a sheep that got recruited into the colony, and we turned him back into. He said he was going to be a fantastic chef. Um, I'm not really sure why he's still mutating, but it's fine. As of right now, he's producing wool every once in a while, and it's pretty useful. So, but yeah, that is Station Barn Owl, Barn Owl Station. Um, so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much again to the cast of the Astronomica. None of this is canon, just to be clear. So I know that a lot of the craziness with some of the characters here has been kind of fun to watch and read about, but none of this is, of course, canon. And all intellectual property goes over to them. So I'm just having fun playing around with them. I'm hoping that within probably in the next month or so, I'll finish up with this colony, get to the point where we're able to be really self-sustaining. We've kind of done all the research and fun playing around with like cloning and things like that, cloning Mackies. Or we're just going to get to the point where the raids are so big that we end up dying out. And my next goal is to do a medieval-based playthrough of a series of goblins that all they want to do is have a party and get high and stuff like that. So I've already posted in the Discord a what's it called? A form for you guys to fill out in case you want to have a goblin in that crew. And anytime a new colony member joins or something like that, we will transform them into one of the goblins or kobolds. Um, but if you're interested in watching and you don't want to add in something of yourself, we'll let you know how that goes. That'll be being played in 1.3. Right now we're playing in 1.2 without the ideology expansion. But 1.3 will be exploring the ideology expansion and some of the cool mods for that, including some more of the magic side of things and stuff that we didn't really get to do around here. It's going to be way less technological. We're probably just going to limit ourselves to just tribal stuff, but we will still be doing a kind of playthrough, a medieval style playthrough. So anyway, hope y'all are having a wonderful rest of your week, and please stay safe, and I will catch you all on the flip side.